You have just tapped into the Christian Life Coach Collective, and I'm your host, Laura Malone. I'm here to equip and encourage coaches in skills, business, personal life, and faith. I believe you're already 100% worthy and capable, and you're called for such a time as this. So let's get you walking it out with courage and confidence so you can be an amazing coach who sees transformation and great results in both your life and the lives around you. Let's get started. Okay, so last week I told you we're going to talk about ending sessions well, and the point of that is that how you end a session matters just as much, if not more, as how you began the session, right? Because clients really remember what they're leaving with, what they feel, what they're thinking. So the final, I would say 5 to 10 minutes can either really seal the work they've done or maybe scatter it, undo it, forget it, make it less meaningful. So don't treat the closing of your session like you're just doing housekeeping or you're thinking about how do I get them to sign up for a next session? Because the ending is actually a huge part of the transformation they get. And that's what would make them want to book another session, right? Leave that stuff for emails or post-session times when you reach out. So you always want your clients to leave the session feeling really grounded. You want them to have clarity. You want them to feel hopeful. You can review what they discovered during the session, what they thought and felt. You can name the shifts. Remember, notice, name, and nurture the shifts and the seeds that are cracking open to take root. Ask them, like, what feels different now for you at the end versus what you stepped into the coaching session wanting to focus on? What feels different? And that can help them think about what changed over the last hour instead of walking out in a swirl of like half-processed thoughts. That's another like coaching skill that you develop over time. You get experience of helping them finish the session feeling like they stayed on task, like whatever they wanted to start focusing on in the beginning of the session doesn't turn into those half-processed thoughts, a bunch of stuff that they I don't know if you've ever done this. You get off a session or you get even out of a conversation and you go like, oh, there's all these things I wanted to say, but I talked about things that didn't matter and I never talked about that and I lost focus. Well, our job as a coach is to help people stay on focus. And if we think that they are going in a different direction, just ask the question, hey, do you want to change our focus to that instead? Because we started out with the focus of X, Y, and Z, and now you're talking about A, B, and C. What do you want to do? Because I just want to stay where you are, meet you where you're at, right? So you're always helping their brain and their nervous system to integrate the work that they're in, the focus they have, so that whatever they do, the shift, the insights, the inspiration, revelation, whatever, it actually sticks with them at the end. So if emotion was stirred up, bring them back to present, like center them, come back, take a deep breath, put your feet on the floor. What's it feel like? Describe what they notice in their body. We're not leaving them raw at the end of a session. We don't want to leave people where their soul has kind of opened up to, open the box of worms. And then we just say like, okay, time's up, guys. I've seen that enough in counseling over the years. Like, that is not helpful. No, we're not leaving people raw. We want to leave them feeling rooted. We want them to feel like they've been supported, resourced, equipped, encouraged, hopeful, right? So I'm just going to say, if you feel that your client is kind of left opened up and raw, not rooted, you might want to consider if you want to extend another 10 minutes and give them a chance to kind of close things back up. It's not a fun thing. As a client myself, I don't enjoy when that happens. When I get to a place, time is up, and I feel like I don't have a choice but to end right now. And this is the moment when I feel like I actually really need coaching now. because now I am feeling raw. I'm feeling confused. I'm whatever it is. You never want a client to feel that way. If they do, you need to decide how you're going to handle that. And even just extending and saying, do you have another 10 minutes? I don't mind giving another 10 minutes if I need to, if I don't have another client right after, which I don't tend to book that way. I like some breathing room between sessions, especially for preparation, but also for moments like this when I'm like, okay, if there's nobody else coming, then I have another 10 or 15 minutes to wrap up. If I feel like I have led you down a road that ends up leaving you not feeling rooted, then I'm going to take the time to let you find center and get rooted, because I don't want you to get off the session and go, I feel terrible. That reflects on you as a coach when your client, clicks off, leave meeting in the Zoom call, or leaves your office if you're in a face-to-face session, or even if you just hang up a phone call. Like, it is not fun. And it reflects on the results they think they're getting and how they feel about coming back to a coaching session with you next time. The brain's going to remember it. The soul's going to remember it, right? So that's just a little aside. You do you, but this is my, something I've experienced as a client and something that I know I've experienced as a coach. But when I recognize it, now I know, like, I want to reach out to that person and say, hey, even do it in the client document or through email. I just want to make sure that you feel like you got to closure before. And if you didn't, here's some thoughts. Maybe you could just take some time to reflect, and I still guide them written, even if I couldn't do it verbally or face-to-face. So you want to teach your clients at the end to reflect on what they've done and celebrate. And we talked about this a little bit in the last episode, but most people, our brains are a little bit wired to overlook like small progress. And we end up only noticing the things that we feel are still broken, the things we still feel like we're failing at, the results we didn't create yet, all that stuff. So bring attention to what moved, the shifts that happened, even if they were small, and invite them. You can point it out. You can ask them questions like, where did you show up today? Where did you have courage? Where do you have confidence? What feels lighter? The reflection builds on that noticing and awareness. And then the celebration builds confidence and trust in themselves. Like, oh, I am doing something awesome. Good for me. And if they have a little breakthrough, then help them articulate it in their own words. How can you put that in one sentence that you can remember? We talked about the stones of remembrance last episode. What can they do? Write it, make a note in their phone to read, put it into a prayer that for their devotions in the morning, put it on an index card they set on their, in their car on the desk, right? Like, just give them little tactical ways to remember what they're doing, the goals that they have and the shifts that they've encountered, the changes that they've made. Is awesome. The last 5 or 10 minutes of a session really benefit when you can do that, right? It trains them to create their own sentences or statements of hope, vision statements, and like action taking, instead of, remembering, okay, what I don't have enough of, who I'm not yet, all the old narratives, right? The paradigms that we're trying to shift from. So if at the end they're still processing, you can normalize what I would call the unfinished work, right? You don't have to tie a bow on this. Something shifted. That's okay. Let's just spend more time. Keep it let it keep unfolding as we go. It's okay. It's totally normal to not be able to say it's completely finished. This work is done by the end of this session. So you remind them, you normalize it for them. That's going to reduce the pressure they feel and build trust for themselves. And then you can just always point forward and ask them, like, what's something you want to take into the next week or between now and the next session? What is something you want to carry and remember? Just keep it simple. Make it doable for them. It's not this massive project. It's not a task that they have to check off, right? It's just one intentional next step or a truth that they want to remember. Again, give them the tactical ways that they can do that. So a strong close is going to build confidence for both you and your clients. It's going to help them know like the process matters. The progress it matters. It's real. Coaching and the journey isn't some random wandering through woods lost. It's got a structure and there's stability in it. And it actually teaches them to start walking their life out looking for clarity and strategy instead of confusion. They have hope, right? And a good ending, it's not like it doesn't just wrap everything up in the session. It's actually doing anchoring, honoring, reflecting, celebrating, and promoting and sending them forward with this new paradigm or narrative or story that's forming inside of them with every little shift that they make. I was looking at the Bible and I was like doing a little research, like what's the Bible talk about finishing well and well? I don't think that there's any, didn't find any scriptures where God's like, make sure you finish well. Even in like Proverbs, there wasn't necessarily like the man who finishes well is the wisest of them all. But the fool does blah, blah, blah. Like, I was thinking Proverbs might produce something more like that. But Ecclesiastes 7 verse 8 says, better is the end than the beginning. And I think that's like a very clear one. To me, I think it stands for a little bit like maturity and perspective at the end is different than what we had at the beginning, right? The beginning might feel like more emotional or exciting. But at the end of something, there's more depth and character. And Paul talks about finishing the race that you were assigned to in Acts 20 and 2 Timothy 4. Finishing isn't passive, it's active, and it's about faith. So I did what God gave me to do, even when it was hard. So for you as a coach, you do what God gives you to do in this session with this client, even if it was hard. And then teach your clients, you did what God gave you to do in this session, even though it was hard. Great job. Right? And then Hebrews 12:1 says to lay aside whatever hinders. And I think sometimes ending something well means putting it down. Not because it's like wrong and it's evil, it's sinful, like whatever. But because sometimes things are just extra weight or unnecessary. It's like, what do you need to take off the camel so you can fit through the eye of the needle to get to the other side? God cares about how you release things just as much as how you pick something up, right? I think that speaks to the end of the something or the end of the session. And close with blessing, not unforgiveness, not open raw, not bitterness. Paul, he ends almost every letter that he writes with a blessing. And I think that's really beautiful if you can do that in your coaching. Even if people are difficult, Paul chose blessing as the final tone of his letters, right? What if you did that? You can pray for them, bless them, encourage them, do whatever you need to do. But I think if you boil it down, you can look at endings as something that there should be clarity, there should be honor and integrity, there should be peace if possible. And then I think there's like this forward action-taking, posturing towards faith, towards God, towards hope. So you're not trying to tie a perfect bow or make a way for yourself at the end of every session to make sure you get paid for another session. It's not about that. We're getting out of our head as a coach and we're getting into our client's head when we're in a session. So make it about them. It's about finishing with clean hands and a pure heart, a clear conscience, right? It's about being honest, faithful, hopeful, and revealing that, releasing that into them. And that's how it gets finished. And if you think about that, if maybe you need to write it down, maybe just put it on a piece of paper. Who do I want to be at the end of this? What do I want to say? What do I want to invite them into? And then take notes throughout and make points and say, like, this is something that I want to remind my client of when we're wrapping up and reflecting and celebrating. So my challenge for you this week is that after your next session, just take a couple of minutes to actually reflect on that. Did you ground the session at the end? Did you summarize anything? Did you point forward? Did you remind them? And if not, maybe write out what you would have said had you paid more attention to it. Like even creating a little bit of a template that you could use next time. Just try it out, experiment. You don't have to say it the same way every time, but maybe you just need a little bit of a flow until it becomes really second nature and natural for you. And then just pray. Lord, thank you for the work that you've begun in me and in my client, and help me close the space and time with grace, with grounding. Come seal what you've revealed here and let the client leave with peace, clarity, and direction, and hope. So you've got this, and I'm going to talk to you in the next couple of episodes while we've got the holidays, we have the end of the year, so much swirling, what's going on, and I'm excited to get into the next couple of episodes with you. I know you're really busy, but stay with me. And again, there's some fun stuff happening next year. So if you want to work with me, check out sterlingandstonementoring.com. Check show notes always. And I'll talk to you next week. Bless you. I hope you have some fun this week. Thanks for listening. For more coaching resources and to learn how to work with me, head to sterlingandstonementoring.com or click the link in the show notes. Remember, walk boldly in your calling, and I'll talk to you next time.